Hey, welcome back. All right, so we're going to start exploring some of the top questions that I get asked by new parents, to all kinds of perinatal clients. One of the most common questions I get asked is, why am I so mad all the time? This isn't who I am. People tell me, I am not an angry person. I don't just snap at people like this. Why am I kind of awful to be around right now? Or why do I want to punch my husband in the face all the time? Or why am I screaming at my dog when he's barking? That's not how I treat my dog. Like, what is going on with me? I don't understand. So first I want to say, boy, you are not alone, all right? You're not crazy, and you're not always gonna feel this way. I think those three things are really important to know right off the bat here. I experienced this myself. I have a 7 and 10-year-old now, and when they were babies, I was far more irritable a lot of the time. So some of the examples of things that I hear from people, the ways they describe feeling this, are things like, I can't be around people who say that their baby sleeps all night because I just want to say a lot of cuss words to them and I just can't even be around them. Or my husband sleeps all night and I'm just watching him sleep and I'm thinking of all the horrible things I could do or say to him because I'm so mad at him for sleeping because I can't sleep. Baby needs me and I don't feel like I could wake him up because he has to work the next day or something, but oh my gosh. His breathing drives me crazy. Or I'm hearing him snore and that means he is out. And even though my baby's asleep, I can't fall asleep because I'm worried about the next time my baby's gonna wake up and I'm gonna have to get up and at him and feed this baby and feel super pissed and resentful that my partner is still sleeping. I hear people say, like I said earlier, every time my dog barks, I wanna kick him. You know, I get so mad at him. Because he might wake up the baby, or just because it drives my nerves crazy. I feel like this tight rubber band. And my dog used to be the most important thing in my entire world. Like, he was my best friend. What is going on here? Why am I screaming at my sweet, poor dog that probably feels very neglected at this point because his space has been taken by this baby? I hear people say that they get mad at their friends really easily now. Like if they have friends that don't have kids, likely is those friends don't totally understand what they're going through or what life is like now. And they say, oh my gosh, if my friend says they're tired, I just want to punch them in the face. Like, that's horrible to say, but I actually feel angry because they don't know what tired is. Or I also just hear people say, like, by the end of the week, I am so exhausted from doing what feels like nothing. Moms say, I'm not doing anything all day. Why am I so tired? And my answer to that is actually, you're doing the equivalent of 2.5 jobs, is what scientists have shown now is the work of a full-time stay-at-home mom, which not all of you are full-time stay-at-home moms. And if you're not, then you're doing the work of a mom and the work, which is like more jobs in some ways. Your brain is in all these different places. So you, regardless, if you have a job and you're momming, if you don't have a job and you're full-time momming, you're all doing multiple jobs. And what you're doing is building the foundation of a human life. Really, you're soothing your baby. You're figuring out their needs when they can't communicate them to you clearly. You're changing diapers all day long. You're either breastfeeding or pumping or cleaning bottles all day long. You are trying to entertain your baby and connect with your baby and build their brain development and create sensory experiences for them. You're tending to more needs than I think in your mind you might even realize, because so much of it is just this mirror neuron thing where you're just reflecting and attuning and meeting your baby's needs as best you can. You're rocking your baby, you're soothing your baby, you're getting your baby down for a nap. Maybe your baby is contact napping, so you're stuck in your chair half the day with your baby on you and you can't even reach your water bottle that's somehow 3 feet away. You know, so you're thirsty, you're starving because you haven't been able to make yourself food yet that day, because you don't have two arms to do anything anymore. Maybe when you put your baby down, they scream, so you have to pick them up again. Maybe it's too hot to wear the wrap. Maybe they don't like the wrap, so you really are just holding them. And you're trying to figure out how to do all of life in a totally different way now, while being continuously needed. And while your sensory input is far more than it ever used to be, because you're listening to crying that's not only just crying, but a baby's cry, I've heard mothers explain it as it feels like glass shattering in every cell of their body. And it's kind of an intense image, but I could imagine you kind of know what that feels like. If your baby's screaming, crying, and in pain, it feels like glass shards in your cells. Like, I have to respond to that. I don't have a choice. I have to make her or him feel better. It's this imperative. It's a biological imperative. That's why we respond that way. So imagine you're feeling this sensation in your body even every time you hear your baby cry. That's a lot to feel. So there's all these factors. In one of my courses, I talk about something called a window of tolerance, which basically is just the amount of things in a day that you can handle and tolerate without feeling overwhelmed. And when you're sleep deprived, hello. When you haven't eaten enough, hello. When you're thirsty, when you're in conflict with your partner. Oh my gosh, I have an entire course about relationships and how to save or nurture your relationship postpartum when there's a huge number of couples that end up divorcing at a year or two postpartum because of how intense this is and how much it brings up for both of you that you never could have anticipated. So check out that course for that information. But when you're experiencing all this extra pressure kind of on your system, it's like it shrinks down that window of tolerance. And so the things of normal life that would normally feel manageable, doable, now send you outside of that window of tolerance, which means you feel more anxious or more depressed or more overwhelmed, or you check out. It leads you more often to what's called a survival response. Some version of fight or flight or freeze or fawn, withdraw, check out, dissociate, all those things. And that is one reason why rage or anger or feeling angry might happen more, especially if you're more prone to a fight or flight response, which is more often than not our first survival response. Because imagine you're at a watering hole and a tiger shows up. Our first survival response is to get ready to run away or to fight that tiger to stay alive. And if one of those survival strategies doesn't work, then the next one is to freeze or fawn or play dead. So typically, our first survival response has something to do with an aggressive, angry, or anxious response in order to meet that situation with a strength that will cause it to go away. So that's one reason why you might feel more mad all the time, is because you have all these extra external pressures, sensory overload, fighting with your partner, sleep deprivation, not enough good food because you can't make it, not enough water, disconnection from friends or family or what you used to love to do. All these pressures. I even hear moms say, I just feel angry because I don't feel like I know who I am. I don't know who I am. What does my brain do? I don't get it. My whole life is different and I don't know what to make of that. I don't know who I am. If I don't know who I am, then I don't know how to respond to situations. Our identity has so much to do with how we structure our decisions and our behavior. So they just feel kind of discombobulated. Like, I don't know how to function because I really don't recognize myself right now. And that's partially because your whole brain is actually transforming right now. So that's one reason for all this anger. But here's another really huge reason. Now listen carefully. Not that long ago in history, we lived in tight tribal communities. We did not have access to the entirety of the world and all the bad news in the world. We had access to our small community where we lived in community where moms circled around a fire making food while their babies and kids played. They were chatting with each other, supporting each other, making food together. They were very much with each other. And the dads would come in and out and support them as well. In addition to the grandmas and the aunties and the extended community and the cousins were all a part of this process with them, supporting. In some cultures, actually, it was the grandma that raised the kids, while the mom watched and learned and was like wholly supported, so that when her grandkids came around, she had enough separation from them to not react like most parents would, and also enough wisdom to have seen it all done already and know exactly what to do. Kind of genius, actually, right? Kind of genius. Or if we weren't in tribal communities a little later on, we were in localized towns with farms, homesteads, where the nuclear family stayed together. The dad didn't leave to a factory to go work all day and then depressed because he's away in a menial job all day and then go to a bar to drink afterwards and not come home. So now the mom is completely alone, as was the switch that started to happen in the Industrial Revolution. Before that, we were all just on a farm working together to subsist and take care of each other. The dad was present, so the mom, again, wasn't totally alone. And she more often than not had her extended family really nearby, like on the next door homestead. It's really recently in human history that we move away from our families, that we live in these little boxes with our little nuclear families, totally unsupported, without a cultural imperative or cultural norm of showing up to support the new parents and the new mom especially as almost like a newborn baby herself. Because I really believe new moms need to be nurtured, held, kept warm, fed, watered, listened to, believed, tended to, almost like they are doing for their newborn child. Because if the mom is supported, then the baby is supported. And we used to know this, but we don't so much anymore. So much of what we see online now is all about postpartum fitness, how we get our body to bounce back. Like, wow, look at that mom. She was up 2 weeks afterwards working out, or she was up a week later washing all the dishes. Look how amazing she is. No, thank you. I tell moms to rest as much as humanly possible for the first many weeks postpartum. Many of these traditional cultures actually had almost like a mandatory rest period for up to 40 days postpartum, where they're just fed and kept warm and they get body work. And they have, in some cultures, there's something called a rebozo, which pulls their belly back together and it feels so good. They're just taken care of. And these cultures knew, like, if we tend to our new moms and allow their bodies to heal, then they're gonna heal faster and they're gonna do better. And these children are gonna be more supported because the mom is more supported. Mom is like the central emotional hub of the family. So part of the rage is because most moms feel deeply unsupported. And this is not to say that dads aren't showing up and supporting them. They are. Many of them are. Some struggle to do so, maybe because that wasn't their model, or because they have to go away and work, because our culture at large does not support new families, especially this country doesn't typically have paid maternity or paid paternity leave. So couples have to split their time. They have to pay out of their savings to pay for this time if they want any time off. And that's a huge privilege. A lot of families just don't have that ability. So oftentimes, dad has to go back to work a few days postpartum. I would love it if dads could actually be in that cocoon with mom and baby for months postpartum, ideally, like many other countries allow and actually support financially. So there's that. So moms just feel generally deeply, culturally, familially, friendship-wise unsupported. And actually the moms that tell me their rage story, once we dig down a little bit into the details of it, we find that the rage peaks at moments of feeling unsupported. Like by the end of the week when they've been alone all week, for example. They'll tell me, yep, that's when I snap, typically. Or they'll tell me, yeah, I snap or I feel the most rage when I'm trying to explain what my day was like, and my partner just doesn't really want to hear it, or isn't interested, or doesn't seem to get it. Or they might feel that spike of rage when they just truly have had the most horrible night's sleep and can't imagine how they're going to get through this day, and there's no break in sight. There's no friend coming over. They're too tired to drive. Maybe I've had moms that feel unsafe driving. They can't get out of the house because they're so freaking tired. Or they don't have a grandparent coming over to just give them a hug and bring them a latte and a delicious sandwich, or to come hold the baby while they go tend to themselves for a moment. Or dad has to work late that day, or dad comes home from a long day of work and is totally toast and doesn't immediately take the baby. Or dad doesn't tell the mom when they're going to be home that day. Dads, tell your partners the minute you're going to be home, and if you're not, let them know way ahead of time, because they're counting down the minutes till you get home so that they can hand you this baby so they can go breathe for a second and feel their own body and restore something inside them to be able to come back and do it all again the next day. There's these two elements of this rage thing. There's lots more I'll get into in the next video, but they're around feeling unsupported culturally and specifically to their home and family life, and this shrunken window of tolerance because of just the natural experiences of new parenthood. And those two things alone, let alone all the other things I'm going to get into, really help explain why there's so much more anger and irritability in this time of life, in addition to the shame that kind of comes on top of it when we feel like, ooh, I shouldn't be acting this way, or ooh, I can't believe I said that, or this should be the most glorious, beautiful, wonderful, happy time of my entire life. Why am I feeling this way? I must be crazy. So that if you layer that shame on top of the irritability, it's going to make everything even tighter and our fuse even shorter because of that self-judgment. Shame contributes. So this is just a beginning of this topic. I hope you tune in soon for more.